I know you've worked with a lot of art and are working with a lot of different artists,
Hmm.
different situations, but looming over it all is this band called the Bangles.
I've heard of
That,
them.
yeah, um, a bunch of top 10 songs and world tours and all those things that uh, most musicians strive for on some level.
Hmm.
You got there, and
We did together.
yeah, um, but and it was fantastic. And then it got to be a little bit of a nightmare. Um, you don't want to talk about that a little bit? I'm not disparaging anybody. It was just, I think circumstances that got everybody a little out of control. That's not a good line, but anyway, you needed to
Yeah.
separate from each other for a while.
Yeah, I think it became an unhealthy situation for everybody involved. And nobody was particularly thinking clearly or making great choices, I think, at that point. But unlike a lot of bands that kind of fall apart amid substance abuse and that sort of thing, we were not in that category at all. Um, we we worked very hard, as you know, um, and I think at some point we could have said, let's just take a break and do other things and have lives and then come back. And I think that might have been a better way to handle things than kind of just limping along. I mean, I see limping along. We had a number 1 record. It wasn't, we definitely went out on a high, but and I am very, very stubborn, and I was determined to keep this thing together and to make it all okay. And I was not particularly effective in doing that. Um, but so we ended up taking a 10-year hiatus, as it turns out, sort of
Mhm.
unintentionally, and then we got back together in 1999. But yeah, it was just I mean, some of it was physical exhaustion, emotional exhaustion, and then some of it was just the sort of I don't know, the vagaries of the business and people wanting to push their own agenda within and without the band, you
Yeah,
know.
the highlights were amazing, though. The highlights were, I remember,
Yes.
I think Debbi was doing a 7-Up commercial or something. You
Yeah.
remember that? And I guess Egyptian went to number 1, and you and I guess Sue went over to where they were shooting the commercial and just stood in front of her and put up one, and she didn't know what the hell we were doing.
No, oh my God, I forgot about that. Yeah, I was at the Coliseum or something, right? It was
Yeah,
someplace
yeah.
crazy like that. Yeah, and she and Gina Shock were doing a Sprite commercial or something. Um, and yeah, I'd forgotten about that. That's funny.
But it was
So,
funny because Gina understood what was going on and turned
mhm.
to Deb, because there was obviously they weren't shooting at that moment. And Gina just turned to her and said something like, "Go have fun with it," because she
Yeah,
she understood what we were saying, but Deb was like,
yes. Like what? Well, it's sort of a uh, definitely a dream and something you may not expect to come true when you're
"Yeah."
in the middle of a football stadium shooting a commercial.